What's the theme of today's game? I suppose restraint. Yeah, we might give it another name by the end. So I'm playing as black, and we've got a unusual opening here. I think this tends to give rise to pretty active games, this queen pawn. And I came back with I didn't actually think about my response. Just did this. Again, another kind of rather opaque move. I don't really understand what these moves are doing, so it's a question of let's castle quickly. Let's use these little pawn moves as a chance to outdevelop white, which is a pretty unusual thing to have a chance to do. And I felt I had an extra move available here. He only had one piece out, so get the bishop onto this rather nice square here where it doesn't disrupt my pawns. I think it's better than fianchettoing. And then just push here, just blockade with a pawn. It's not normal to put your pawns in front of your bishops, but and you would expect a decent player to be trying to get their bishops in front of their pawns. So this is kind of annoying for some players because that pawn, they're only going to get a pawn if they take it. So just reinforce it with another pawn there, and there's a really good structure we got going. And now he does this rather weak move, which suggests that he thinks I've got a knight that wants to advance. Well, maybe it's to stop my bishop from trying to pin his knight against the queen, but I wasn't interested in that approach anyway. I don't tend to do those kind of pin the knight moves that often these days. It's not part of my overall strategy anyway, let's put it that way. So I bring the knight to this unusual square because of the bishop, but I like it because it means that the knight ends up covering different squares from what people are used to. We end up with it here instead of on the square next to it where the bishop is, which is where it would normally be. So I like all that. And out comes his queen to here. And I can already advance my knight here because I can give a threat of check on the g7 square. And I've also got a bishop to take there, which would stop him from castling if he recaptured with his king. The only king thing he can do to prevent both possibilities is to take the bishop back and, in effect, take his development back a move. That wasn't my intention, and I didn't even register it at the time because, well, it's early
Inside castling.
I wasn't really aware very much. But look, the idea that black castles before white is pretty odd. You must agree. And although my development is rather skewed and lopsided, and my queen side is rather weak, I think his queen side is poor as well. Both his bishops are kind of locked away at the moment, but the black bishop especially. So he tries to just sort of break through somehow to try and just open things up a bit because it's just so locked together. Attacks my pawn chain, which of course is my strongest structure. And I just come in with the knight to kind of add an extra piece to defend it all. He comes in with the knight to add an extra piece to defend it all. I get ready to attack the knight with this pawn move and create another pawn chain, potentially. And he goes for it. And we recapture with the pawn. Now he's got two knights attacking that square, and I've got two pieces defending that pawn. So it should be all right. Bang. But he takes that one, so I take that one. So that all unfolds in such a confusing way. I thought I'd lost a piece at the end of it. I actually thought I'd come ahead down a piece, but I hadn't. I did come away down a pawn. I lost a pawn in that. So if all of that was for a pawn, then this is the kind of percentage player that pisses me off, quite frankly. But his bishop's eyeing my knight there and could win a piece. So there. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. That is it. That's the quantum. Yeah, he didn't win a piece. I did count them. I had been fairly sure. Yeah, because I thought I looked at that and I thought, well, if he didn't take that, then I would have been up a piece. But no. That's it. Right. And now I tried to trade off this other bishop because it just annoys me, that bishop. It's eyeing a pawn that only my queen is defending at the moment. It's also just kind of, I don't know, don't like it. It's annoying. the way he's created that slot for it means that he really wants to use that bishop. And his queen and the other bishop are stuck on the light squares at the moment, so I want to get rid of this dark bishop, and he just won't have it. Obviously his king on the dark squares. Now, bringing this over, because if I could take that pawn with a sort of rook sacrifice, then his queen would capture it, and then I can give an instant check on d2. And although it's not going to be a checkmate, it's going to stop his king castling, and it's going to win me the b-file pawn, break up his pawns quite a bit. But this is a Class A player, I didn't mention that, and if we can't really afford to sacrifice a rook against a Class A player. He's just going to whittle it down to a pawn ending, or just an ending where he's a piece up, and then he can bring his pawns home skillfully if he's a Class A player, so we don't really want that. So this rook capturing the pawn there, it's an idea, but fortunately it didn't materialise. Attacks the queen, really boring play. Just bring her to this square here. And I'm surprised he didn't castle at this point. Very bold, very odd, to be frank. Now again, it's like, how am I going to get rid of that bloody bishop? So, well, at least blockade the pawn for now. And he doesn't want to get rid of that bishop, but he does bring it to this square here. And in the guise of retreating against a lesser player, I might have just thought that that bishop was only retreating. But of course, he's disguised his retreat, his attack as a retreat there. He is now potentially going to steal that pawn with check. It's not a final threat, but it's not a good threat either, because we don't want to give our opponents free pawns when he's already got one. So we have to put the diamond with fianchetto shape in there. We have to do that.
Kinside castling.
And now, finally, he castles. Is that really how long the opening took? 39 moves. So it says 19. That's the 20th move. His 20th move. Is that right? Madness. So, we go here. Just strengthening things. I just want to make it difficult for him to attack, and I'm going to go for light square domination in terms of the pawns and that nice light square bishop, which I don't really want to move, and I don't think he wants to move any pawn that can attack my light square bishop. So we've got a fortress here. Now this looks like my bishop is doomed, but we can offer the exchange, and if he doesn't take it, then we have a check suddenly here. And that was because he got rid of that pawn that was protecting his king. I think that was the beginning of the end for him.
Check.
Let's check. Now retreat the bishop, and I brought it all the way back to the end. Perhaps, in hindsight, it might have been better just to bring it to here so that my rooks remained connected. And now he pushes this pawn forward to attack. So I turn it down, and I go here, eyeing his king. The only thing defending that pawn is his queen, and his king, of course, itself. He goes on with his whittling down of my king's defences, and we capture that. So again, he's still only a pawn up, but it is a pawn in a very annoying position. Now he sacks the bishop, and of course I cannot capture this, because if I capture this, we've got check here, and check there. And then doesn't matter where I go really, because well, he's just got too many options. We don't want to give him that.
Check.
So I can't capture that. So I come up with this really nice move. Really lovely move. In fact, it's just as well the bishop didn't go to that square. Thinking about it now, remember I said the bishop would have been nice to put it on that square that rook is now on. Well, it wouldn't have been, because this is the move that saved the day. Well worth looking at. And the idea is that this rook will in a moment be able to both attack that bishop And that checking square, the G2 checking square where his king is defended by that pawn. And all we have to do is go here. So now I'm attacking both the bishop and threatening an insta-check. He can't really do much about. I mean, I suppose he could do something like that. Perhaps he should have done that. But he didn't.
Check.
He just went ahead with his full-on attack. Now this just gives me a piece. And I might not be a class player, but I'm not far from a class A player. And so giving me a piece is probably not a good idea. Also, as I came and attacked this bishop, I was doing a revealed attack on his rook, which I don't think he even saw. So that bishop, that dark square bishop, ended up in a really good place, actually, for me.
Check.
So we're a piece up now. Are we? Got 2 bishops, 2 rooks, and a queen. Yeah, we're a piece up. But he's got that passed pawn, but he's under attack on many fronts.
Check.
Even though it looks like I'm under attack, he is on many fronts. And now, of course, we can X-ray that checking pawn with my rook here. And that's not too good for him.
Check.
He can go here. But now he's really not got many more options. We could go for check by draw by repetition. He could go here.
Check.
But I don't think he wants that against a Class B player because it's going to cost him points either way. So he's going to go for the win. But how is he going to go for the win? I'm on the light squares, so this bishop can't do much. I mean, he brings it out simply to create a survival hole for his king, because obviously after I check, which is inevitable now, he doesn't want to go behind that bishop because then he'll have a revealed check, which will probably win another piece. So he can go here. But don't forget I've got this. Now, not only do I capture the rook, but I'm attacking his queen. And although I'm attacking with an undefended piece, that's not a square his queen really wants to end up on at this point in the game. She will be too far out of it. And I'll have enough time probably to get a bit tasty. If he were to do this now, I could do this. And whether he captures or not,
check.
Things are looking very bad for him now. He can only go here. And then this wins the rook and pretty much the game.
Check.
So his queen can't really afford to take that rook. But not taking anything is probably not the right idea. I don't know if he was going for some sort of queen pawn thing here, but I think he didn't see that I'd revealed an attack on his queen because he hadn't seen that rook as threatening, because clearly I would have to have been mad to move that bishop out and just give him the rook. So probably he just didn't register that I had been that mad, but with a good reason, to strand his queen in the corner of the board. So he takes this and I just take the queen. There is no debate on that. We take the queen. Yes, he's got a pawn close to castling and attacking rooks, but that's going to be cleaned up very quickly. I don't care if he has the rook, because now look at the count. Look at the head count. Even if he takes this bishop, I'm now a queen for a bishop, and that's not really good. That's not really good. He's got a spare pawn.
Check.
But I also have a check.
Check.
And another. And this is a Class A player. We've got to keep checking. Keep on and keep on and keep on checking, because he'll come up with some horrid bishop fork that will win my queen if I'm not careful. So we've got to keep on checking.
Check.
Keep on checking. And now he comes down to here. He's bringing his king down, which is really the right way to play, because his only real chance of winning is to checkmate me quickly. And the best way to checkmate me quickly is to try and hem me in with his king, and then bring down the rook for some sort of back rank or faux back rank type thing. But this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen because
Checkmate.
Checkmate. So all in all, a really, really satisfying game, I have to say. And I can't remember what I called it now. Filipino player with a Russian name. Might be a Russian living in the Philippines. Certainly plays like a Russian. That was certainly Russian style play, and that's why I loved this game so much. One of the reasons the Russians, they play really, really interesting chess, really exciting chess. That was one of the best